I'm B. I make gaming content mostly on Twitch and YouTube. I went to Japan in November of 2023, and I figured I would come on here and talk a little bit about my experience being a gluten-free person in Japan, because I was pretty nervous before I went that it was going to go badly and there's going to be no food for me and I wasn't going to know what to do and I was going to be stranded or I would get gluten. And honestly, I say it went pretty well. I feel like everybody's been visiting Japan lately, at least who I see on social media. I think it is a good time to talk about it, and I was thinking I would give some general gluten-free Japan tips, give some general tips for traveling to Japan that I didn't know about and thought were helpful, and also talk about some of the different restaurants I ate at. So first of all, we went at the end of November, like around Thanksgiving, for about 8 days. And I traveled with 2 non-gluten-free people. I was the only gluten-free person. We went to Tokyo for 4 days, Osaka for 2, and Kyoto for 1, like something like that. Note number 1 is that a lot of establishments have more limited hours than they do, at least in the US. There, a lot of establishments opened at like 10 or 11 and closed, especially the bakeries. I know that that's kind of common, but closed at like 3 or 4. Even some lunch places closed on the earlier side, and a lot of places closed like between lunch and dinner. I find that for me, I planned all of the things that I was gonna eat ahead of time, and of course that ended up changing a lot during the trip. It's hard to be prepared for everything. I tried. I brought gluten-free soy sauce packets that I got on Amazon, just because you never know when you're gonna need some gluten-free soy sauce. I also brought like 25 snack bars, so that if I was ever stranded somewhere, I would have something to eat. I'm definitely somebody who gets really hangry when I haven't eaten in a while, so it really helped. I didn't even eat them all. But I was glad that I had them. I always felt like I had a safety net. Another thing is that I played it really safe. I know that some people are comfortable just like walking into a restaurant and seeing what happens. I'm not. I love Find Me Gluten Free, a great app, and I really trust it. If somebody says something isn't good, I'm not gonna eat there. Usually if somewhere has like ideally 3-4 good reviews, I feel very safe eating there. Tate, do you have to stare? Gosh. I printed out one of those gluten-free Japan cards. I thought that that was pretty helpful. I brought it around with me everywhere. I only used it a few times. One time I used it was at Butler Cafe Swallowtail, which didn't have any information about being gluten-free online, but my friend wanted to go, so we went. And I wouldn't recommend going there, just because they didn't have a lot to offer me. They have like a set menu, and they kind of just gave me the things that were naturally gluten-free, which was like a little bit of fish, a little bit of fruit and ice cream at the end. Yeah, it was good. I wouldn't go back. Maybe there's a different Butler Cafe that does do gluten-free, but that one didn't. But when I gave them the card, their response was immediately like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do about this. Pretty much like, this is a set menu. And then our butler went to the kitchen and like talked to the people there. He didn't speak super good English, and so they had a different butler who spoke more come and talk to us and be like, hey, we have a set menu, there's not a lot we can do. We're gonna serve you what we have. And that's all we can do. And I was like, you know what? All right, I'll take it, I'll try it. And I was nervous, as I always am when I eat food that it's just hard to confirm is gluten-free. Really know. But I was okay. I felt fine afterwards. I don't know when else I used it, but that was an example of when I did. And I think that's like kind of the general response you'll get, sort of like concern and fear on their part because they don't want to get you sick. A little bit of scrambling, and then they'll try to do their best to help you in the end. So I would definitely use it again. I'd bring it again. I'd recommend it. Osaka was the place I didn't like eating very much. They had options, but a lot of them were things that I don't really like. I'm gluten-free and I'm also a little picky, unfortunately. So they had like a bunch of okonomiyaki restaurants, which if you like okonomiyaki, you're good. There's also a lot of curry. I found that Tokyo had tons of options. None of them were like super close together. Usually I feel like I had to sort of plan like, oh, we're gonna go to this area. I gotta find a restaurant that I wanna go to there, maybe 2. And in most areas I looked at, I found at least 1. It depends, like I think places that are further out, you don't get as lucky, but it's generally pretty good. Something I didn't do is I didn't stray into the convenience stores and try stuff there because how can you know if it was made like in a cross-contaminated facility? There's just not as much information. I get nervous, but I think if you want to try it, no shade. Ooh, another important note is that places sell out of things. There was a noodle restaurant I wanted to go to in Osaka. It was soba. They were sold out of soba by the time I went at like 2. And bakeries. There were a few different, like a pizza place I went to was out of pizza crust. And bakeries I went to by the early afternoon were out of any baked goods. I think because there aren't as many gluten-free places, they are more sought after. And so they run out of stuff more quickly, which is unfortunate. A good thing about the gluten-free places in Japan is that because not a lot of Japanese people have celiac disease or are gluten intolerant, at least to our knowledge right now, the gluten-free establishments almost always had people who spoke really good English working there. So I was always able to like ask questions when needed, get clarity on menu items, which was super helpful. They were also always really empty. Like 90% of the time there was like nobody in these gluten-free restaurants. In terms of flying, I would totally recommend Japan Airlines. We flew Japan Airlines and when you buy your ticket, I was really impressed to see that like they immediately ask you about your meal and they ask you if you need any accommodations with it. And you could select to have a gluten-free meal. And it was great. Once everybody was seated on the plane, they put like a gluten-free sticker on my seat and on my tray table. And that was super nice. So it was just like obvious. It was like a bright red sticker. I'm gluten-free. And before everybody got served all of their meals, the meals got brought to me first. And they specifically like said on the packaging, this is gluten-free. The first thing they brought out was a paper bag with like sandwiches and little snacks. That was kind of like our lunch, I assume. And then 8 hours-ish later, they brought out like a dinner and it was like fish, I think it was salmon, like tomato salmon over rice, and like vegetables on sides, and it was really good. We flew a different airline on our way back and they didn't offer anything like that. So Japan Airlines, would love to fly you. Let me know if there are any other kinds of airlines that do that because that was very nice. That was the only flight I've ever taken where they've had to feed us on the flight. So I don't know how common that is. A good place to go if you don't know where to go, you're hungry, you need something quick, you should go to Kura Sushi. Kura Sushi, they mark what's gluten-free on their menu, which you can pull up online. My only note is to be pretty careful when reading it because like the charts are so little. It's so hard to tell exactly what they say, but they do tell you. I did eat a piece of sushi that like had a little bit of glutinous mayonnaise in it. Unfortunately, it didn't end up hurting my stomach, but I did panic about it at the bathroom. It was too bad. Aside from that, they were all good, and really that was my own mistake because the menu did say that I can't have it. I just wasn't reading clearly. I was like, I'm hungry, I need sushi, give me sushi now. And that was a really nice time that I had my own soy sauce that I had brought because I could get my sushi, you could pour some soy sauce on, it was great. If you're asking for the check in Japan, you just do a little X. That's how you tell them. Not gluten-free specific, but good to know. Now, let me talk to you a little bit about some of the restaurants that I went to that I really liked. Somewhere I really loved in Tokyo was this place called Fancl, F-A-N-C-L, brown rice meals. It was very cool. I think that Fancl, I could be saying that so wrong, is normally, like, maybe they make beauty products? I don't really know them, but they have a restaurant. It's in the basement of their like corporate building, I think. So like it's kind of hard to tell what it is when you get there, but you get to this big corporate building. There's security guards inside and people working, and it looks very clean. It looks kind of like not a Sephora, but a place like a Sephora. And you're like, is this right? But if you walk inside and go to the back to the elevators, which are on your right, you like walk straight back and right, then there's like a little sign that's like downstairs, Fancl, brown rice meals. And so you take the elevator down and it's a super swank restaurant. It was really, really nice. And again, we were the only people there. It was super empty, but they have like a big, pretty waterfall. It was kind of romantic. I wasn't expecting it. I got 2 different pasta dishes while I was there. I don't remember exactly what they were, but they were so delicious. Oh my God. And their bread, they gave us like a slice of buttered and jammed bread, and their bread was so good. I regret not buying a loaf while I was there. They sell them at the front. I would definitely go back there in the future, especially like on a date. Another place I loved in Tokyo is Mokmo, M-O-C-M-O, sandwiches. I got a curry egg sandwich. Delicious. The place was really cute. It was also empty. Entirely gluten-free place. They have to be cold. They don't like reheat them for you, but it was a delightful sandwich and I would love to go back and get another one. They just give you like a half. It's pretty cheap. You could definitely buy 2 halves. And I also got a hot lemonade. Hot lemonade, surprisingly good. And it's right by like the Ghibli Museum. It's actually my favorite area, Kichijoji. Super recommend going there to shop. Another chain that I know does gluten-free curry is Coco Curry. I didn't try Coco Curry because I'm not a huge curry fan, but look into it. In Takashiyama Times Square, I went to this place called Breizh Crepes. Again, who knows if I'm saying that right. It's Breizh crepes. And they had savory and sweet crepes, and they all looked so good. And they have like a nice outdoor space that you can sit in. Takashiyama Times Square, it's like a mall. It's like a big old mall. So there's a bunch of other restaurants too and shops. I had like a ham and cheese crepe. Oh my god. I would love to try one of their sweet ones. I didn't even. And I got a mint tea. And that was in Shinjuku. My favorite place I went in Japan. It's so random, but I went to this place called My Banh Mi by Gluten Free Tokyo. I saw a few places that were like by Gluten Free Tokyo. And I wonder if that's like some kind of initiative or group that's making gluten-free restaurants around Tokyo. I didn't look into it. My Banh Mi was so good. I didn't even try their banh mi because I don't like vegetables very much, but they have this peanut butter sandwich that's so, like, the bread is so soft and fluffy. Japan has really nailed gluten-free bread, like sandwich bread. So good. I think they probably do it with rice flour, but man, I loved it. And I got a strawberry smoothie with it, which like had some yogurt in it. I feel like the peanut butter sandwich also had yogurt in it. Oh, and it had like little peanut butter chunks. I went a second time on a different day because I liked it so much, and I couldn't even bring myself to get a different meal. I just got the same thing because I liked it so much. But they had a bunch of other stuff I wanted to try too. The place I was saddest that was sold out of a lot of stuff was Rice Hack. You may have seen it in some of the reels online, but it's like a little window shop where there's like a lot of baked goods that you can buy, and they also do pizzas. They couldn't make any pizzas anymore that day, and there were only like a few baked good options. I bought all of them. I got one of everything they had left, and it was all amazing. I wished I had gotten like 3 of everything they had left, especially their like fluffy rolls. So good. And like a cheese roll. Highly recommend, but get there earlier in the day so that you can get their pizza too. Rice Hack is also in that Harajuku area. In Shibuya, another place I went to was Organic Bio Cafe. It was towards the time where they were closing, so they didn't have a ton of stuff, but I got like a little rice pudding and a creme brulee. They were like little square, little rectangular tiny cakes, and they were both very good. I like bought a bunch of each of those to keep as snacks for the next few days. And I liked them. I would recommend it. Another place I went to was Hokkaido Sapporo Noodle, and I had their gluten-free dumplings, and I had their fries too. And I feel like, I thought they didn't have a shared fryer, but I bet that they do, because that was a place that I definitely like had a bit of a stomach reaction after eating. It was good food if you don't really like react super strongly to shared fryer. It was fine. Again, it wasn't my favorite. They had ramen. I didn't try their ramen. Their dumplings were good. Another place I went to was Unza Omom. U-N-Z-A space O-M-O-M. It was a funny place because it was kind of like in an apartment. It was on like the second floor of a little apartment building. It was also kind of near Harajuku. We spent a lot of time over there. We liked it a lot. And they have the famous fluffy pancakes, and they're gluten-free. I'd say they were a little dense. They were certainly very cute, and I liked them. I would recommend it. I don't know if it would be like my first place to go back to, but if you're in the area and you're looking for kind of like a breakfasty meal, I'd say it was good. But if you're in the area, really, you should go check out My Banh Mi because I like that best. In Osaka, like I mentioned, the soba place I wanted to go to was closed. So instead, we went to this place called Spice Oasis. Spice spelled S-P-Y-S. I really liked it. It was, again, really tiny, teeny tiny little shop. I was the only person in there. They just had like kind of a bar and in the center of the bar, like the person who worked there was cooking. And I got like a curry platter with green, black, and yellow curry rice. So I got like a meat. That was the best part. But with the curry, it was cool. Like the woman who worked there, she was like, try each of them independently and then mix them all together. That's the way you're supposed to eat it. And so I did that and it was great. Also, they had a lot of interesting drinks. I got a black sesame chai. That's the only place I would go back if I went back to Osaka. Spice Oasis. It's kind of in the like central downtown-y area. That was like the best meal I had in Osaka. After that, I feel like I found Spice Oasis and I was so happy, but then I just wasn't super interested in any of the other things that were offered. So for dinner, one night I ordered from a place called Chocolata on Uber Eats, which actually worked very nicely. So if you're ever in a pinch, use Uber Eats in Japan. And what I got from there was I got 3 slices of bread, a chicken sandwich, and a couple of small like little cakes, like a chocolate cake and a matcha cake. Again, they're just like tiny little rectangular cakes. And their bread was delicious. Some of them I got like with chocolate spread on. It was so good. And again, the sandwich I really liked, even though I'm not a big sandwich person. Maybe I just don't like American sandwiches, I don't know. But I definitely would recommend Chocolata. I bet it would have been even better fresh. I don't know exactly where in Osaka it was since I just ordered it, but yeah, I recommend it. We also went to Universal Japan, so to speak a little bit about the food offerings there, they have like 2 different allergy-free curries, free from all allergies, and I tried the sweeter one, like the fruit curry or something is what it's called. It was kind of a big deal. I went into a restaurant, there are like a number of them across the park that serve the 2 curries, and I let the cashier know that that's what I wanted, and then they called an attendant, and the attendant that came like took my order and was very serious and was like, it's probably gonna be like 40 minutes. I think she told me 20 and then it was like 45, and they definitely felt very bad. I kept checking in about it and being like, is it coming? Because I'm in Universal Japan, and I was like, my time to go into the Mario land is pretty soon. I'm scared. And it was fine. The meal was also just okay. It wasn't a ton of food, and I'd say it wasn't super good. I've definitely had better curry than that. So I'd say eat in there as needed, but I didn't love it. If I could avoid eating that again, I would. And then after being in the park of Universal Japan, we ate at the Hard Rock Cafe, just like right outside on the boardwalk, and they had a silly little like kind of handwritten gluten-free menu. It didn't feel super trustworthy. I was like a little bit scared, but it was actually really good. I got salmon and fries and I felt fine afterwards. It was a big meal, gave you a lot of food, and everybody who worked there was really nice, and you could tell they like really liked working there. They were dressed very punk. Don't try to leave the park in the middle of the day to go though, because if you ever exit the park in Osaka, then you can't go back in. So plan to go there for dinner. Our first meal in Kyoto was in the area of Arashiyama, which is where a lot of the like food and shops are. It was amazing. It was so beautiful. You have to go there. You only had like, 6 hours. We took the train from Osaka, had to go to our Airbnb, had to drop off all our stuff, and then we got to go shop around in Arashiyama. So we didn't have long, especially because a lot of the stuff around there does close at 3 or 4. The place that we had lunch there was called Naritaya. They had these different like platters of sushi and sashimi, and it was so good. So fresh. I think I got like a donburi bowl, which is like a bowl of rice with some fish on it. And again, they actually provided gluten-free soy sauce, so I didn't need to whip mine out, but it was the best sashimi I've had in my life. While in Arashiyama, I also went to this place called Musubi Cafe, M-U-S-U-B-I, and I got, everywhere I went that it was gluten-free, I just felt like so delighted. I needed to try a bunch of different things, but I got an apple tart, a chocolate tart, and I got fresh pour over coffee. And it was interesting, they had you like do the pouring over yourself. I really liked it. I think both the tarts I tried were delicious, and it was like a very cozy, calm atmosphere with a great view. Good place to go to like calm down, relax, have a good snack. In Kyoto, I felt like there were a lot of different cool things to try, but they weren't all in convenient locations. I was staying right near Kyoto Station, and I felt like there wasn't a lot of stuff within walking distance. Again, I rely a lot on Find Me Gluten Free. If you're willing to, look around, you might find other things, but yeah, there's not a lot of stuff on there, at least right now. There was more in Arashiyama, and like, there were definitely things if I was willing to, take a train, take a car, but wasn't always super convenient. But what's cool about Kyoto is a lot of the places you can stay are like beautiful old homes. So we stayed somewhere with a kitchen, so I was able to just cook for myself. And it was really cool going to a Japanese grocery store and picking things up. I just made like an egg over rice because they had a rice cooker at the place. Ooh, another place I really loved in Kyoto was called Every Soy, and they had gluten-free cream puffs. And they don't really look like cream puffs. They're like kind of blocky and huge, but they're delicious. And I also got like a tin of little biscuits, shortbread cookies, and they were so good. I like ate all of them on the train on the way back to the airport. Highly recommend Every Soy. It was a place that I wasn't even like really anticipating going, but we just happened to be near it on our way out. And I was like, oh, I have to try it. Cream puffs. They also had a lot of really good drinks on the menu. Like I said, we didn't fly Japan Airlines back, so I was pretty nervous about eating enough before we got on the plane. We flew back from Narita Airport, so I was really hoping to be able to eat something there. And I read on Find Me Gluten Free that somebody had eaten at J-Tai, spelled J-A-I, and that it had been safe. So I was like, okay, I'll try it. I hope it's gonna be okay. And I went there, and they have like a little machine, like a little click-on order machine, like in McDonald's, and a lot of things on there were marked gluten-free, which I was like, oh great, I'll order something. But I mean, I was a little bit nervous still. I ordered on the machine, but then I went and talked to the person who worked there just to double check after I ordered. And they were like, oh no, those things are not gluten-free because of the sauces. Is that okay? And I was like, no, it's not okay. And so they talked to the kitchen staff and like actually told me a few things that are gluten-free and were like, order these instead. I got like a fried tofu with rice. It came with a sauce, but I wasn't sure if the sauce was safe, so I didn't use it. Oh, and I had shrimp fried rice, and the shrimp fried rice was really, really good. I would definitely get that again. So honestly, like knowing that there's a safe place to eat at Narita makes me want to fly in and out of there, but it's also a little less convenient because you have to take the Narita Express from Tokyo. It's like an hour outside of the city. But yeah, those were all of the notable places that I ate, and I feel like the meals that I had that I liked, I loved. The crepes, unforgettable. The peanut butter sandwich, unforgettable. Their food, I'm like, I wish I had here in New York. I like a lot of eateries around here, but I loved those. I feel like the food that is made to be gluten-free in Japan, so much care and thought is put into it, and they make it really delicious. So yeah, I was really happy with all the places I ate, and there were so many more, especially in Tokyo, that I wished I could have eaten, but I wasn't gonna be there for long enough, so I can't wait to go back and try more next time. Now, I might as well give you some other general Japan tips while you're here. The Uber app, I was able to use Uber Eats, but you can't like call an Uber on the Uber app. You can use Uber to call taxis, which was fine. Like I never had any trouble with that. It just like isn't the same as an Uber. I thought that was interesting. Convenience stores always have trash cans, which you can use, which everybody talks about online, how there aren't trash cans everywhere and you have to carry your trash around, and it's true. So remember the convenience stores. We went for Thanksgiving, like I mentioned, and Thanksgiving actually it's like, kind of like a bank holiday there, so people get the day off. And we went to Universal that day, and my God, was it busy. So if you're gonna go around that time, I don't recommend doing anything super touristy on Thanksgiving Day, or maybe on the day after. You can get a Suica card. Suica card is what you're gonna need to take the train there. You can get one when you get there at the train station, but the line was really long. So you can also just get one using like your Apple Wallet on your phone, and that was really easy. I had to do it in a pinch once in a station, and like it was so fast, so I recommend it. The thing I didn't know is that we only stayed in Airbnbs, and a lot of the bathrooms in Japan use boilers, so like the hot water isn't immediately on. There would always be like a little panel on the wall, and you'd have to like click to turn the hot water on. I just thought that was interesting. I haven't experienced that before, but I know other countries do it too. I would also say I didn't love Osaka. It wasn't my favorite place that we went, I think especially because of the food. You can stay in Kyoto and take a 15-minute bullet train to Osaka any day. Like we stayed in Osaka and then we moved and stayed in Kyoto, and I really regret that because we had to haul all our stuff and it wasn't necessary. We could have just taken a train back and forth in the morning and gotten like, honestly, even more time in those places because we wouldn't have had to be moving our stuff and taking Ubers and this and that. It's just such a hassle. I recommend if you're gonna go to both Osaka and Kyoto, maybe just stay in one of them. The train system is kind of confusing. I found it to be more intuitive being someone who lived in New York and takes the train every day, but some of the trains have like express, semi-express, and local trains that dictate what places they stop at, and I thought that was a bit confusing. So try and pay attention to that. They usually say like all of the signage, not all, but a lot of the signage, especially everywhere we went, you know, pretty touristy cities, the signs in the subway or like the times telling you when the trains are coming usually will say like what kind of train you're getting on. I don't still totally know the differences between the three, but just noting to you that they exist. Something that surprised me is that when you try clothes on in a mall, sometimes they have you put a little bag over your head to protect the clothes from your makeup, and they also always have you take your shoes off, which I had on like my big Doc Martens, so I'd have to be lacing and unlacing constantly. So if you're going shopping, maybe wear slip-on shoes. Almost all of the clothing is one size. I didn't seek out any plus size stores. I would definitely do that next time though. I'm like a mid-sized person in the US, and I didn't find anything that really fit me. I found some sweaters, some like baggy oversized things, but that's about it. The trash is sorted by burnable or non-burnable, which again is new to me living in the US. So that's just like a good thing to know. Like maybe think about what is burnable and non-burnable before you go, so you're like a little bit prepared. Usually they have like a few different cans that you can use. The bullet trains, it's silly because I should have known how much they cost because you can look it up, but I wasn't really anticipating the cost of them. They're like 90 USD to take a train from Tokyo to like Osaka or Kyoto, so it's just good to know. I think that knowing a few Japanese phrases goes a long way when you're there, and everybody we met in Japan was incredibly nice. Really, really the nicest people I've ever met. They were so accommodating, and they think it's very sweet when you try and use their language, at least the people that I met. So a lot of people who live, especially in like Tokyo, know a good amount of English. We didn't encounter too many people who didn't know a lot of English, but those who don't, you communicate with them. It's nice to know like a few conversational words in Japanese, and they're honestly not that hard to learn. Something else that I loved was that most of the train stations have lockers where you can stow your items. Super convenient, especially if you are a tourist and you're doing a lot of shopping. You can drop some bags off in a locker, and they're not expensive. Usually you can keep them all day or even for a few days. So I recommend using that a lot, especially because the city is so big, so it's a lot of work to have to go all the way back to your place all the time. Something else that was helpful was that Yamato Transport can send your baggage from the airport to wherever you're staying. If you're staying in a hotel, they can send it to the hotel, but being people who stayed in Airbnbs, we had them sent to like a local Yamato Transport location. It was hard to find information about that online in advance, so we kind of had to just like scramble at the airport when we got there, and I would say it was fine. Like it was a little bit stressful in the moment, but it was good to have like a Yamato Transport location that we knew was close to our Airbnb, so we could be like, hey, send them here. And they did it, and it was fine. It didn't take very long for them to get there. I think that's all of my tips. That's all my stuff. But if you have any questions, please ask me. I don't know everything, but I feel like my travel there, I learned a lot during my time. Even though I did a lot of research before, there's so much that you can't know until you're actually somewhere. So I thought it would be helpful to talk about some of the things that I learned and that I like made note of for myself when I'm going back there again in the future. But yeah, thank you for watching. I stream on Twitch under the name Honey Garlic Fish Bones. My name is B, and if you like gaming content, stick around. Bye!